as the berries in June. Red the rose, skin pale as the light of the moon, gently as she goes.
Welcome to Snark Theater, where bad fiction gets blasted. I have to admit that Chapter 6 was not an easy chapter for me. Why? Because, well, it starts off with some pretty damn good writing. I'm man enough to admit it when Hamilton does something right for once, and the beginning of this chapter actually feels like something of the earlier superior novels. That being said, I will still find ways to mock it, because, well...
I am a man!
When we left off, Anita, Richard, and Jean-Claude were all following Narcissus into a room to marry the marks. When they get there, Anita becomes a bit uncomfortable when she sees the aforementioned room. I'd been complaining to Jean-Claude for years that his decorating scheme was too monochromatic. With one look at Narcissus's bedroom, and I knew I owed Jean-Claude an apology. The room was done in black, and I mean black. The walls, the hardwood floor, the drawn drapes against one wall of the bed. The only color in the room was the silver chains and the silver-colored implements hanging from the wall. Oh dear God, I'm getting flashbacks from my immortal! No one fucking understands me! He shouted angrily as his black hair went into his big blue eyes like Billy Joel in Boulevard of Broken Dreams. He was wearing black baggy pants, a black MCR t-shirt, and a black tie. Get it? Instead of tie, 'cause I'm gothic. I was wearing a black leather low-cut top with chains all over it, a black leather mini, black high-heeled boots, and a cross belly thing. My hair was all up in a really high bun like Amy Lee and Gone Under. Email me if you want to see the pic. Anyway, Anita expresses discomfort about sitting on the S&M bed, but Richard manages to calm her down enough to sit between them. Narcissus decides to strike up a little conversation. Jean-Claude liked this room very much for once, Narcissus said. I turned and looked at the were-hyena as he paced the room in his stocking feet. What do you mean? I asked. Jean-Claude answered. Once I submitted to unwanted advances because I was told to do so. But those things have passed. I stared at him and he wouldn't meet my gaze. His eyes were all for Narcissus as the other man paced around the bed. I don't remember you being unwilling, Narcissus said. I learned long ago to make virtue of necessity, Jean-Claude said. Besides, Nicolaus, the old master of the city, sent me to you. You remember how she was, Narcissus. Refusal of an order was not allowed. We get a bit more dialogue where Narcissus expresses how hurt he is that Jean-Claude did not enjoy the time they spent together. And then we find out why that is through one of Jean-Claude's memories that Anita and Richard accidentally see. Images flash through my mind, memories, chained on my stomach on rough wood, the sound of a whip going back, the shock of it biting into my skin, and the knowledge that it was only the first blow. The wave of utter despair that followed that memory left me blinking back tears. I had confused an image of being tied to a wall, with a hand rotted to green pus caressing my body. They were Jean-Claude's memories, not mine. A small sound came from Richard, and I turned to him. His eyes were shining with unshed tears, and he had the same look of numb horror that I felt on my face. He reached out his hand for mine and took it. Sweet, sweet Jean-Claude, I thought I had forgotten you, but seeing you tonight on the floor with the two of them made me remember. He reached out toward Jean-Claude, and Richard grabbed his wrist. Don't touch him. Don't ever touch him again. Okay, there are a lot of reasons not to like Richard, but this is definitely his best moment in the entire book. I almost clapped when I read this scene. Here are the facts. Richard does not like Jean-Claude. At one point, Richard hated Jean-Claude and would have killed him over Anita. Despite that, he realizes how horrible Jean-Claude had been treated and stood up for him against Narcissus. That kind of loyalty is beyond amazing, especially in a book where so many other things go wrong. Besides, this one scene makes me think of Narcissus as somewhat of Jean-Claude's... what's the word for it?
Do you know what nemesis means? A righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent. Personified in this case by an honorable cunt. Me.
Anita and Jean-Claude convinced Richard not to rip Narcissus's arm off, although personally I think he should have done it anyway. But since he tore the ligaments in his wrist, Narcissus gets uppity and revokes their safe passage into saving the werewolves. He then insists that they offer him something in return, such as allowing him to watch them have sex. They of course say no. Narcissus asks to have Nathaniel and Anita refuses, and Richard does the same with his wolves, but agrees to let Narcissus attend the meetings that determine the preternatural community's actions. He takes it, but still insists on getting gifts, which Richard refuses again. Narcissus gets testy and lets loose some of his power, which makes both Richard and Anita's power, for lack of a better word, wig out.
Wig out. It means crazy, you know, like,
Jean-Claude tries to intervene, but the power makes him react strangely as well. When he's calmed down a bit, he says that both Anita and Richard shared their power with him, and it ended up overwhelming him. Sadly, it's this kind of stuff that slows the book back down and makes it hard to read. 73 pages in, and we're still no closer to saving the kiddies.
Boring! This is so boring! This is so boring! Get to the show!
Asher speaks up and offers to top Narcissus as their show of a gift. All three of them protest, but Asher insists he will pay the price because he also knows it will make Jean-Claude jealous, since there's still a bitterness between them for the death of Juliana. But also because Jean-Claude refuses to sleep with him since he belongs to Anita now. Jesus, I never thought I'd see a boring catfight between a French vampire and a short, ornery necromancer woman over another French vampire. Thanks, Hamilton! Narcissus accepts Asher's proposal, and the trio head out to save the kiddies. Finally. In the hallway, Anita assembles the Justice Sluts. Jamil, one of Richard's werewolves, a new vampire named Faust, Sylvie, another one of Richard's werewolves, and Meng Dai, a vampire. They're led into a room, and Anita immediately spots a catman who identifies himself as Marco, the asshole she talked to on the phone earlier. Anita immediately lets him know she's nobody's bitch. Yet. Let me see my people, I said. Will you not greet us formally? Marco asked. You're not the alpha of anything, Marco. Get your head lion in here, and I'll greet him. But you, I don't have to greet. Then greet me, Nimara. It was another male voice. He stepped out from behind the cloaks to the left. As he stepped out, the cloaks dropped, and I could see Gregory clearly. I am Coronis of the Blackwater clan, though I doubt that will mean anything to you. Marco mentioned you were new in town. I'm Anita Blake, Nimara of the Bloodtrippers clan. By what right do you harm my people? I came here to seek the swan mains, and I found 3 of them. They had already tied up the male. We thought it was their leader, their swan king, or we would not have harmed him. By the time we found we had the wrong animal, it was late in the game. Anita asked to see Nathaniel, but Coronis the Snake Man insists that she sees Gregory up close and personal first. Oh God, Anita, just go to your happy place, quick!
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? Said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh baby, I love you.
Oh, wait, that's my happy place. Guess you're on your own, honey. Unfortunately, we don't find Gregory well. Turns out the bastards tortured him by shredding his manhood, and it's honestly a very hard part to read, but I'll try. Gregory took a sobbing breath and said, Anita, I thought you weren't coming. His blue eyes glistened with unshed tears. We were almost the same size, so I could touch my forehead to his, hands on either side of his face. I couldn't stand to see the tears in his eyes, and I couldn't afford to cry in front of the bad guys. I'll always comfort you, Gregory, always. Seeing him like this, I meant it. Gregory sagged as soon as the first chain went, and I caught him, holding him under the arms. But when the second wrist restraint opened, his body fell against my leg, and he screamed. Jamil undid the last ankle chain, and I lowered Gregory to the ground as gently as I could. Damn it, this is too depressing! Here, look at something cute! Okay, that helped. While Anita is tending to Gregory, the snake men attack. They wound Anita pretty badly, but she manages to get the upper hand and injures Coronis before things get out of hand. Just when you think things can't get worse, they do. The snake men thought it would be fun to turn Nathaniel into a pincushion. Literally. Knives bisected each bicep. Smaller blades had been forged through each hand so he couldn't close his fingers around them. Then knives had been forged through the bulk of the muscles, just through each collarbone. Then the swords began. Jesus Christ! I can't even make a joke about that. What the hell, book? There aren't enough adorable kittens in the world for this crap. Seriously, this came out of nowhere and just kicked us in the face like Ishin fucking Kurosaki.
Surprise, motherfucker!